In our last module, we looked at the sources of law, and to review and further explain, we have constitutional law, and these are rights guaranteed to individuals that are part of the Constitution and the amendments that follow. You may remember from your history lessons something called the Bill of Rights, which it contains the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. There's legislative law, and these are laws that are passed by legislative bodies, be that federal bodies, state, or local. So you'll have local laws, your city laws, that are passed by your city council. Those would be considered legislative laws. You then have administrative laws. These are generally local agencies that are interpreting the legislative law. So once a law is passed, someone has to interpret that and come up with the procedure to implement it. That would be considered administrative law. Then there's judicial, case, or common law, and this is where a legislative law or an administrative law is challenged based on its constitutionality. And this may produce additional laws. Things like a woman's right to privacy and abortion would be an example of judicial or case law. Let's look at some examples of laws that impact health. Here is an example of a legislative law for the state of California, AB 53. AB stands for Assembly Bill, which means that this law originated in the state assembly. Child safety seats. Children under 2 years of age must ride rear-facing in an appropriate child passenger seat. We also require in the state of California that children under the age of 8 be properly restrained. This law is based on data and research that shows that children are safer when they're riding rear-facing, and that having children restrained up to the age of 8 reduces the risk of death or injury for children riding in a car that is in an accident. Here's another example of an assembly bill that impacts health. Gender-neutral bathrooms. This requires all single toilet bathrooms in businesses and public agencies to be gender neutral. While some people, usually those who do identify on the traditional binary gender patterns, might think that this is not a big deal, for those that don't identify gender binary, this is a big deal in terms of destigmatization and mental health. Senate Bill 54, although controversial, is an example of a Senate bill that impacts health. Senate Bill 54 creates California as a sanctuary state, and it restricts the ability of state and local police in California to cooperate with ICE and immigration agents. This is an important bill in that it protects many citizens of California. We have many citizens who are either undocumented or possibly were brought here as children and are our dreamers. This bill protects them and keeps them from living in fear of deportation or separation from family members. This is an interesting Senate bill, and it has put the state of California at odds with the federal government. However, it reflects a general philosophy of the people of California. Here's another example, AB 551, Bedbug Management. This one is a little more straightforward with regards to its impact on health. This bill prohibits landlords from showing, renting, or leasing a vacant unit that has known to be infested with bedbugs. One would hope a landlord wouldn't do this, but evidently that's not the case, so we've had an assembly bill passed that will then make landlords be accountable with the possibility of sanctions if they don't comply. Our last example, Assembly Bill 1747. This deals with student food insecurity, and it mandates acceptance of CalFresh or EBT cards for food purchases at higher ed institutions, and it encourages outreach for CalFresh enrollment and coordination with food banks. I hope you all know about the Pirates Cove at Orange Coast College. This is a food bank where students can come and get as much food as they need. All you need to do is show your student ID card. They also have the ability to sign students up for CalFresh there at the facility. It's in the middle of campus. If you need directions, just let me know. The assignment for this unit is a bill search, and so there's a bill search tool that I want to introduce to you briefly. I will provide the link to the California Legislative Information website within the assignment. But when you go to the webpage, this is what it looks like. You're going to want to put in the keywords over here, an area that you're interested in. So let's just, for example, put in nutrition. And then hit search. If you want to have both houses, if you want just Assembly or Senate, you can indicate that here. But I'm going to say both houses just to see what comes up. Hit search. And you can see that there's a list of laws that have either been proposed new or that are amendments to existing listed here, all that have the keyword nutrition. Now they may or may not be dealing with nutrition specifically, so you're going to have to look at the text. By clicking the link on the left, it will then take you to another page. You can see the progress. This was amended in the Senate June 19th. It was amended in the Assembly April. So you can see because it's an Assembly bill, it started in the Assembly and then moved to the Senate. Here you can see that this is an act that amends sections listed here of the Education Code relating to children nutrition. As you scroll down, you can see that new language is in blue, old language is in red. But this is how we can find out what's being done at our state legislative bodies. Another interesting tab on this website is the California Law tab. If you go there, it will list all of the different codes that we have in the state of California. So if you ever want to find out what the law is, you can go here and look it up. So for example, here's Education Code. Education Code is what the community college has to abide by. And then we have post-secondary education. This is what we look at when we look at laws that we have to abide by. So I just wanted to make you aware of this California Law tab. There's also a Publications tab, as you can see. So you can get a file that shows what's happening in each of the different bodies of our legislature. There's other resources, and then you can actually subscribe to different listservs. Well, we are using this website to address laws that impact health and public health. I'm hopeful that this exercise will be useful to you in your life overall. It's important to be active and to know what's going on. So, to be good citizens, we need to be aware of what our legislature is voting on.